We're good? Okay. Hi, everybody. I am Sandy Sedmak Engel, and I am an encaustic painter from Baltimore, Maryland. Welcome to my studio. I'm testing out a new mic. So if there is anybody out there, if you could just give me a thumbs up that you could hear me okay, that would be amazing. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna keep going. Anyway, welcome to the Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show, September 2020 virtual edition. Like I said, I'm Sandy Sedmak Engel. I'm an encaustic painter, and this is my little studio that we've turned into a gallery for the weekend. So this is not an introduction to encaustic 45 minutes. This is, I'm calling this next level encaustic. So if you please stick around and please feel free to ask questions the entire time. My cameraman Randy is going to be reading them to me as they come in. Any heads up on the sound? You can hear me? Okay, great. But what I kind of I changed my plan this morning. I had a big plan to work on two paintings at once and try to show you all this different stuff, but I realized 45 minutes is not long enough. So what we're going to do today is work on a gestural encaustic. So we're going to start out with like a quick tour of the studio. Randy's going to take you on a little walk around and just show you some close-ups of some of the pieces that I've been working on over this past year. Sometimes it's a little easier to see the depth and the texture of a piece when you're a little closer to it. Encaustics, for those of you that are not familiar, it's an ancient Greek Egyptian painting technique, painting with pigmented beeswax on wooden panels. It is painting, but there's a lot of like drawing and sculptural elements to it as well. And that's one of the reasons I love it. I love the depth. I love the texture that you can create. When I was in college, I took a lot of printmaking, and when I got out of school, I kind of lost the ability to do that. And this incorporates a lot of carving tools from printmaking. If you take a look at one of these long, skinny gestural pieces, that's kind of what we're going to be working on today. I'm going to hopefully show you how those are created and get as far along as we can in this 45 minutes. So, like I said, encaustic painting is painting with layers and layers of pigmented beeswax. I take the wax, I'm just going to give you a quick how-to, melt it down with resin, add the pigment, and I work with it on heated palettes, which you can see over here. So even though it's like a balmy 75 degrees here in Baltimore, it's always a million degrees in the studio. So don't be surprised if you see me mopping my brow as I work. It gets really, really hot in here. It's super messy. Before I forget, now that I know this microphone is working, I want to give a big shout out to CM Cinema from Towson, Maryland. Sarah and Thomas were gracious enough to come over and help me hook this bad boy up. I really appreciate you guys. They also helped us create the beautiful videos that you guys have seen on our social media. So thank you, CM. Okay. I am just going to get started. Like I said before, if you want to see an intro to encaustic video and get a little more familiar with it, you can go to the Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show website and click on the 5 o'clock club link. There's an intro video there, and there's also a link to it on my own website, sandrasedmakengel.com. But for now, we're just going to dive on in. So I'm going to move to draw. I have always, wow, there's a breeze. Since I was a little kid, loved to draw. Is that a good angle? Okay. So for a long time before I really got into encaustics, I was doing oil painting. And I was able to, you know, hire models, go to like live painting groups. Sorry, I got to find a way to pin this down. And actually paint directly from a model. Encaustic painting is really not conducive to working with a live model. So the way that I work is if I am doing a more in-depth piece, like some of the pieces you see back here, I will work with the model. We'll kind of play dress up. I'll take a million photographs and I'll work from those photographs. But when I'm doing some of these nudes, some of these really fun gesture pieces, I'm just going to grab one up here. These to me are like, they're like sketching. They're like sketching in wax. And so much of sketching for me, it's about the line. It's about the movement. It's about that like twist of a hip or twist of a shoulder that I really love that. So yes, they are figurative, but they're also line, movement, grace. All right, I'm going to put this back. So, okay, usually when I work, if I'm working from a reference, it is to my left. Because of filming, it is to my right. So I'm working a little backwards for me today. But as you can see, this is a drawing, a sketch that I did in a life drawing group many, many moons ago. This is actually on newsprint. You can tell how old it is because the newsprint is super, super yellow. I forgot my water. But anyway, this is what I'm going to use as a reference for the painting that we're going to work on today. So, like I said, I can't work with live models, so I still go to life drawing sessions and, you know, draw for hours at a time working with the model, love it. And then I'll take some of those sketches and pin them up around the studio for reference. So instead of having a model in front of me, my sketch is going to be my guide. Make sense? I forgot my water. I'm going to get all cotton mouthy. All right, so here's my process. I've got this board prepped. I always work on wooden panels, usually birch. And this is what they look like before you prep them. I have about 3 or 4 layers of clear and then white beeswax medium on this board. I've coated the board again and again. I'm just going to show you real quick. The palettes are hot, the brushes are hot, everything is in liquid form. And I've taken a while to coat these boards and just build up a couple layers of clear wax medium. And that is what's going to give me, stay down for a minute, the basis of my painting. So this panel has been coated with the wax. I have fused it with a torch. You have to fuse the layers as you go. I'll show you that in a little bit. And then I've taken a razor blade and kind of scraped away some of the excess wax to smooth off my surface. And as you're going to notice as I go along, I'm pulling this wax off of this razor blade. And I don't throw it out. That's one of the beauties of working with encaustics. It's completely reusable. This is still kind of a nice clean white piece of wax. So I'm just plunk, dumping it right back into my palette. Okay. So we're going to jump in. And again, any questions or anything so far, Ben? No. Okay. Sounds still good? All right, so using my sketch as a reference, this is a China marker. It's just like a waxy pencil. And I'm going to do a loose sketch on my board with this China marker. So, and this is going to be real loose. I just really want to kind of lay down like the line and the feel of the piece. Like I said, I'm really kind of going for movement. So while I don't have a model in here with me, I've got my drawing, and this is a model. Her name is Sarah, and she's an amazing model. She's an amazing artist, and I've worked with her for years, so I'm very, very familiar with drawing her, so that makes things a little easier. And like you could say, it's real loosey-goosey. I'm going kind of really quick at this point. Okay. All right, I'm going to lift this up so you can see this has like really, this is off proportion. It doesn't have the beautiful line that the drawing does, but that's okay because this is just my basis. I'm just trying to get the points of the piece down. So now I'm going to flip it the other way. Can everybody see this okay? Can everybody see okay? Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right. And I am constantly looking between my sketch and my board. Like I said, usually my sketch would be over here, but I wanted you guys to be able to see it. And so now that I've got kind of a guideline down, I'm actually going to carve into the piece. And what I'm using, a lot of these tools that I'm using, they're etching, printmaking tools. Which, like I said, when I was in college, I did a lot of printmaking and I loved it. Kind of lost it after I got out of school, and now I found a use for my old tools. So this tool has a bunch of wax on it. I want to clean it off to get the point back up. So I'm actually just pressing it onto my Encaustic palette. These palettes are big pieces of anodized aluminum with burners underneath that you don't want them to get above a temperature of like 225 because they'll smoke, but they're hot. This wax medium is hot. Yeah. All right. So now I'm going to start to sketch with my carving tool. And I'm going to try to get these proportions down a little bit more. So you can see I'm sort of following the very, very loose sketch that I created with my China marker, but not really. It was more just a basis. And if you come down a little close, you can see how I'm carving deep into that board, and I've got to clear away this excess wax, like the burrs that this is creating. So I'm just going to keep going. And like I said, I want this to be super gestural. I want it to be more about the movement. So if it's not exact, as long as it feels like it's got that energy when it's complete, I'm good with that. All right. I don't know how well you can see this, but in a minute you will be able to see a little more. So, go up for a sec. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scrape away with my razor blade that sketch that I made with the China marker. So super gently, I'm just kind of getting rid of those initial lines. But my carving sketch is still in there. Once I start to add the pigmented wax, I don't want the initial sketch with the China marker to distract me too much. So starting to get hot in here. All right. So now I'm going to move my board closer over to my encaustic palettes. When you're working with encaustic, you've got to be close to your wax source, because think about it, just like if you spill a candle, that wax hardens up really quickly. So you don't have a ton of time to get from the palette onto the board before the wax hardens. So I'm going to start out, I'm going to start out with actually some black. I'm almost pretending like the encaustic at this point, the wax is like a piece of charcoal. Okay. So I'm grabbing these things with my hands. I think I've burned all the sensitivity out of my fingers. You really don't want to do that. You want to, that's why I have these little clothespins. I'm moving some of the wax away to create some space for me to work. So you always use a natural bristle brush, and I am going to just saturate that with the black wax. And now what I'm doing is I'm kind of filling in the lines that I carved. So I'm kind of creating almost like a third sketch, but I'm trying to deposit the wax into the lines that I've carved. Actually, I think I'm going to use a little bit bigger brush. Any questions? We are live, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. I can already see I've got like the tilt of her head wrong, but I'm not overthinking it at this point. I'm just really, I have to move this way. It can't work like that. I'm just really trying to fill in these lines that I've created. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I was an oil painter for a really, really long time, and I loved working with oils. And then I don't even remember how long it's been, 10, 12 years ago, I saw this encaustic workshop at a place called the Creative Alliance in Baltimore. And I thought it sounded interesting. I was a little bit of a pyro as a kid. I always liked working with wax. I like carving. I like texture elements. So I decided just for fun to take this workshop. And then I took another one. And then I took another one.
How long does a brush last?
Well, that's a good question. It kind of depends. I'm just going to keep working while I'm talking. So now what I'm doing, I'm scraping away some of this excess wax to reveal the lines that I've carved underneath. The brushes, just like with any medium, the better quality brush that you buy, the longer it's going to last. But like I said, these are all natural bristle. You can't use synthetic brushes because they'll melt. But once a brush is an encaustic brush, it's always an encaustic brush. You can't go back because it gets ruined with the wax. I will actually use a brush. It'll start out, maybe we can come back up. It'll start out like this big, beautiful. I use mostly flats and brights. And as you work with it with the wax, the wax and the heat just wear it down and wear it down and wear it down. So I will use a brush until there are literally like no sables left in it. I do replace them a lot more often than when I worked with oils, but I hope that answered your question. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna lift this up so that you guys can kind of get a comparison with the sketch and the gesture that I've started. And I can see that it needs a lot of work. So,
live models pose for you periodically to create your initial nude sketches.
yes, I do. I don't usually hire a model one-on-one, but there's a bunch of really great life drawing groups here in Baltimore. And so like a group of artists will get together and we'll hire a model and draw, like I said, for like 3 hours. It's really great. And that's where all these initial sketches come from. So I am going to, sorry guys, I'm looking for a tool I should have had out. Here we go. I'm going to use, it's probably going to get all over my face soon. This is just a really lovely Sennelier oil pastel. And I'm going to give myself a little help here with a pastel because the oil pastels have wax in them. I'm going to have to do it like this. They are compatible with encaustics. You never want to use anything that is acrylic or plastic, because as you fuse, hi Janie, as you fuse, it's not going to bond. Anything that's that is plastic is not going to bond with the wax. So I'm using this pastel to just kind of get a better feel for what I want to do. All right, I'm going back down. And now I'm going to smudge it around a little bit with my fingers. Try to get some more of these shapes. I hope you guys have been enjoying the virtual show so far. Our crew worked really hard to put this together, and all of our participating artists have been absolutely amazing.
Fans are a favorite accessory of yours. When did that start?
Fans? I don't know. I think they're pretty. I think, like I was saying, a lot of why I do this, the gestures, it's about line, it's about movement. I have to get something to wipe my hands off me like that. And fans can incorporate that. How are we doing on time? Okay. All right. So now this still looks like a big old mess, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually flip it around so you guys can maybe see it a little bit better. But as you work with encaustics, you have to fuse the layers together. And to do that, you have to use like torches, irons, heat guns. If you build layers and layers of encaustic and you don't fuse it, you're actually re-liquefying the wax and it's all bonding together and melting into the board behind it. If you don't do that, the piece is going to fall apart. This fusing is what is stabilizing the encaustic paintings. So I'm going to use my favorite propane torch, always holding it away from me, turning it all the way up and lighten it. You can probably hear that. You don't want it to be like super high flame. You want it to be a little bit low. Is that better? Can you guys hear me? I think I must have done something to my mic. Can I get a thumbs up if you guys can hear? All right.
No sound.
There's no sound.
Yes, now they can hear you.
You can hear? Thumbs up? All right, great. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so you can see, well, I don't know if you can see, but I'm gently touching the wax, and it's warm. And usually I would have 2 or 3 pieces going at one time so that the board has a little bit more time to cool down. But I really wanted to get as far along in this piece as I could today, so I'm pushing the temperature a little bit. But normally you would wait till this was almost cool to the touch. So I'm going to I'm just going to be gentle with it. I'm going to take my razor blade and I'm going to scrape away some areas that I don't like, because they are bonded but they're not sealed yet. So now is the time to get rid of some of the shapes and lines that I'm not happy with up to this point. Anything that I'm doing that with a razor blade. It's almost like an eraser on a drawing. And now I'm going to put a layer of sealant on here. So I'm going to clean up my workspace on my palette. I'm going to move this black encaustic medium out of the way and bring out my clear. So the clear is just, it's beeswax and resin. That's all that's in there, beeswax and damar resin. I get my wax from my local beekeepers or beekeeping supply house. Cook it down with sticky, icky damar resin, and that is what encaustic medium is. So I'm taking my natural bristle brush and I'm saturating it with this beautiful clear wax medium. I'm making sure the brush is nice and hot on heated palette. And now I'm going to very gently, because this is still a little bit warm, I'm just pulling. You can see how I'm dragging a little bit of that pastel around. But I'm dragging this clear medium over what I've already created, and that is going to seal the pigment that I've already put down on the board into place. If I don't apply this clear medium, every time I fuse and paint, those layers are going to kind of mix together. So if you have an area that you want to protect, you keep you will coat it with a clear wax medium. Oh, hello, fly. We're outside. We've got the door open right when we started shooting. A couple of bees came in to visit. That is not unusual because they smell the wax and have no idea what's going on. Never, knock on wood, never been stung by one. While I'm painting anyway, but they just smell it and they're like, that belongs to us. What are you doing with it? So, do we have any more questions?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. So now I've put that protective sealant on there. I'm going to give it another really light fuse. And I'm going to do that with a smaller torch. This is actually a creme brulee torch. So I use these tiny torches just kind of for detail work. It's almost like using a tiny little brush. So I'm going to light this guy up and I'm just gently going over my seal. So I could use my bigger propane torch for this, but I want to be a little more gentle, and this teeny tiny flame allows me to give more direction to the heat so that I'm not melting down and fusing things that I don't want refused. And as you can see, I'm almost like, I kind of start up in the air, like, and it's almost like a swooping motion. So I don't put the torch, I'm going to show you on this panel that I've started, I don't put the torch directly on the panel like that, because unless I intentionally want to create that look, because it'll burn right through to the wood. So I'm almost, it sounds really weird, but I'm almost like licking the board with the flame.
Jane wants to know how long an average painting takes to complete.
How old am I? 58 years? That's a good question, Jane. It really depends. The encaustic paintings take longer time-wise for me because there's so many. Okay, I'm going to take a break here. We can just talk for a sec to let this settle. So, the process is so much more involved, and there's so many more layers than working with like oils and acrylics. So you've got to let the layers settle. But it's such a hard question to answer because sometimes I will work on a piece for a day or two, and bam, it's done. And sometimes 6 months later, the piece still isn't done. And that doesn't always have to do. It's getting hot in here, guys. I know I'm probably starting to sweat. That doesn't always have to do with the size of the piece. Like sometimes a really huge piece. Did I have oil pastel on my face? Oh. A really huge piece will come together more quickly than a smaller piece, like this ballerina over here. And we don't have to get super close to it. But this is a substantial piece. It's 40 by 30. And I worked on this one off and on for just a couple weeks, and then it was like, bam, I'm done. But then sometimes these tiny little pieces, like this little gestural piece, this is a 12-inch by 6-inch piece, and I worked on this thing off and on for months. It drove me insane. So I guess the answer is, it depends on how my creative flow is going.
Beth wants to know if you've ever caught anything on fire.
Of course I have.
Doing this step. I
have. I've never like lit my studio on fire. I have burned myself many, many times. And I have a couple times heated up my palettes way too hot, and I look over and all of a sudden there's just smoke everywhere. So that's not a good thing. I have a round scar on my thigh from when I was using a heat gun, and I wasn't thinking, and the heat gun dropped and it seared my skin. I have a scar over here too from one of these guys accidentally touching me. So yeah, as I've gotten more experience with encaustics, the less those things, the lesser occurrences of those. But I do, when I teach workshops, one of the first things I go over is safety. And I always say, when you're going to use a torch, you turn it on and you point it away from yourself, and you do not walk around with a lit torch. And the students are inevitably, oh, that'll never happen. Well, it does.
Susan wants to know, is the wax expensive compared to other medias?
It is expensive. That's actually a really good question, and as you guys know, I'm going to keep scraping away at this piece. It's cool enough now for me to keep working on it. You know, with what's going on in the world, and with what's happening to bees, the wax has become more and more expensive as time goes on. I make my own clear wax medium. And a pound of that, which is probably, I'm going to show you. It's about the size of a brick. But I'm going to say a pound of wax medium is about like 6 or 8 of these guys. So that's about a pound. And I used to be able to make a pound of wax for about $7 or $8, and now it costs me. No, that's not true. I used to be able to make it for more like $5 or $6, and now it costs me closer to $10 a pound. And some of these paintings have pounds and pounds and pounds of wax on them. So that's why I always say it's a good idea to, if you want to get into encaustics, like take an introductory workshop and see. What are you laughing at? You know, see what you think about it, because the initial investment can be kind of steep, but you know what? I love it so much that you find ways to, like I said, I make my own medium. I never throw any of my excess wax away. So you find ways to make it work.
It's just the initial steps make me think of beautiful cave drawings. I'm imagining a Sandy version of a cave drawing would be.
Who said that?
It's from the Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show.
Ah, cave drawing. That's kind of funny. It kind of does look like cave drawing. All right, I'm gonna flip this away from me. And again, well, let's do one more kind of compare and contrast to my sketch. You can see it's starting to get a little closer. It's starting to get more that line and that good feel to it. But I'm gonna start to add some color to this, and it's really gonna start to bring it out. We're doing okay on time? We have 5 minutes. Oh wow! See, 45 minutes goes way too fast. Way too fast. I didn't get near what I wanted done.
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take some of this white encaustic medium, and I'm kind of cleaning up the edges of this piece. And by doing this, it's going to make the lines that I've already created pop a little bit. Wow, 45 minutes. I really was hoping to get a little further along. But guess what? This afternoon from 2 to 6, and tomorrow from 10 to 2, my virtual booth will be open, and I'm going to be out here painting and hanging out. So more than likely I'm going to be working on this lovely lady adding the fan. So if you guys go to the Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show website, or to my website, you'll find a link to the Zoom. I'll be bringing my laptop out here, opening up a Zoom meeting. You don't need a password. You just need to have the Zoom app downloaded on your device, and then you don't even have to open Zoom up. You just, like I said, go to my website or the Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show website and click on that link, and you can join my meeting, and then I can my virtual booth, and I can take you around, and we can talk one-on-one. I'm going to be here till 6, so visit me.
Jane wants to know if you usually pre-draw all of your ideas first.
Like drawing as in the gestures that I just shared, or like drawing out, like planning out with a drawing? I think maybe she means like a lot of artists, before they start working on a piece, like a major piece, a bigger piece, will do sketches and layouts and have the piece kind of planned out. I personally don't work that way. My sketches always happen on the board or the canvas.
Planning. Planning.
Okay.
When you're drawing.
So I will have an idea in my head, and I will, if need be, I will work with the model, like I was saying earlier, and take like hundreds of photographs and maybe get a couple that are actually the vision that I was looking for, and then I'll take that photograph and work from that. But all of the sketching and the layouts, everything happens on the board that the original piece is on. I hope that makes sense. That was a good question. So I know we're kind of running low on time, but like I was saying, you can visit me in my virtual booth for the rest of today and then tomorrow morning. And there's a bunch of other artists in the Rittenhouse Square show that are opening their virtual booths as well. So click on the website www.rittenhousesquarefineart.com and check out what's going on. There's Facebook Lives, there's Instagram TV interviews, and a bunch of virtual booths. We've also got, I'm just going to keep working as long as I can. We added a gallery this year onto our website. So you can actually go on our website and shop directly. And it's really gorgeous. Our artists contributed beautiful pieces. And it's shopping there is helping the artists, it's helping the show. We're super thrilled with it, and I hope you check it out. So you can see, I know I'm running low on time, but you can see just adding these little hints of color here and there are really starting to pull this piece together. And I'm a long way from finished, but I'm going to do kind of one final, but you can see how that's evolving. I really wish maybe I'll carve the fan in real quick, and that'll be my my farewell to you guys. How about that? So we'll just do. This is going to be nothing like what it's going to look like. But you see that gorgeous wax just coming out of there. And you know what? I think that's all I've got time for today. So if you visit me in my booth or check out my website later, you'll be able to see this beautiful lady finished up. And do we have any questions before? Do we have a couple minutes, babe, or are we out of time?
2 minutes.
All right, no questions? No? Okay. Well, I'm just going to keep working then. I don't like to rush my work too much, but I want to really thank you guys for joining me. I hope you learned a little bit. And like I said, if you want to learn more, I've got an intro to Encaustic video. The link is on my website and the Rittenhouse website as well. So you could check that out and learn all about the basics, like the kind of all the materials you need, how to start an encaustic. Might be interesting. And yeah, we're going to be here the rest of the weekend. Check out the website. Check out the gallery. Thanks again to CM Cinema for setting up my mic, even though I did something wrong and messed it up. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. We really miss being in Philly. Hopefully we'll be back there next June. But in the meantime, visit our artists all this weekend. Thanks for coming. Bye.